sound too.
Otherwise, that was going to be that silent
Yeah, I
movie.
know, right? All right, so before we start, I just want to acknowledge some people and give some thanks. First of all, the Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you.
No problem. I want to thank the Department of Justice and Facebook for hosting this event, and all the students and officers that came today to be a part of this discussion. So thank you guys so much for showing up. Attorney General, do you have any opening statements or anything you want to say before we actually get started?
Just to thank you, Michael, so much for being here and hosting this event, to thank Facebook for making this venue available, for letting us go live, for everyone for coming, for our special guests, who I hope you'll stay and see later, but for everyone who's tuning in, I really want to thank you for caring about this issue. It's one of the issues of the day, and we need your voices, we need your thoughts, we need your insights, and I'm looking forward to talking with you on this particular new medium.
Nice. Well, I just want to go over the format a little bit just to let you guys know what we'll be doing today. First, we're going to start off with a discussion between us. We're going to ask each other some questions. We're going to, bring up some issues, and we're going to, talk about some things. And also, we're going to have audience participation from you guys here, and then also everybody at home on computers at Facebook. So that's what we're going to do. Okay. I have a question for you. We'll kick it off. We all know that you're here in LA to wrap up your community policing tour. Can you tell us why you decided to kick off this tour here?
Sure, sure. So I'm in LA, and this is the last stop on my community policing tour. It started a little over a year ago, actually, because the first day that I was sworn in as Attorney General was the day that Baltimore started experiencing violence and unrest that night. It was a day of Freddie Gray's funeral. It was a day of a lot of tension, and it was also a time of a lot of tension, not just in Baltimore, but in Ferguson. I had come from New York. So these were the issues that I was dealing with as I'd stepped in, and I had already decided one of my priorities as Attorney General was going to be working on the relationship between law enforcement and the communities that we serve. Because we know that there have been serious issues of trust, that relationship has been frayed, and it's painful on both sides. It's painful on both sides of the issue. So I started off the tour because I saw a need to connect and try and bring out examples of where people had had that relationship literally fall apart, like Baltimore, like Ferguson, but where, once the cameras left, people who lived there, people who stayed there, people whose homes were in different cities came together and really worked on those relationships, because I thought it was possible. I had seen it happen myself, and I wanted to find those cities that had done that. And I did that in 2015, and this year I'm highlighting cities that are focusing on the different pillars of the President's 21st Century Task Force on Policing, which is how we reconnect law enforcement to the community, focusing on some very important ways.
Wow, okay, that's great, that's great. Okay, can you tell us more about your first trip to Baltimore, after the death of Freddie Gray?
Yes. Yeah, I went there about a week after the funeral.
Okay.
So that would be several weeks after young Mr. Gray lost his life. And I had the usual round of meetings with elected officials, and I met with the police department leadership. But I also met with young people who were activists in Baltimore, who had been involved in the community before Mr. Gray's death, had been galvanized by those tragic events, and were really focusing on issues. I mean, obviously they were raising their voices and they wanted to be heard, but they were really focusing on issues of how does the community connect to the police department? How can community members learn, for example, what kind of training do police officers get? We call for more training, but how do we know what's going on initially, and how can people provide input into that? So I met with young people there, and I met with police officers who weren't much older themselves. A lot of them were from Baltimore. Some of them had been injured in the violence, and they were still on patrol. And I remember talking to everyone, and they all were saying the same thing. They were all saying, Baltimore is my home. Yep. It's my home, and I love this city, and I want to make it better. And I always find that when people are saying the same thing, even if they have different jobs or different backgrounds, that's a way in which they can come together.
That's great. Great answer. Thank you so much. Well, we have a special guest here, Yahara Shahida, and we want to, from Blackish, and we want to have her ask a question. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you for allowing me to be here. I'm so excited.
I'm so glad you could be here.
Yeah, well, as a junior in high school, I was wondering, how do you envision school police utilizing these platforms to improve, become transparent, and change the way police officers are viewed in the community's eyes?
You know, I think that's a great question, because what I've seen on my tour is that law enforcement involvement in the schools is a great starting point to really helping people understand each other.
Right.
You know, you've got police officers who live in the community, their kids go to the same schools. I was in Cleveland and I saw police officers who literally help teach reading to third grade students in uniform, you know, so the kids get to know them and see them as people who are looking out for them, who are caring for them. And the school resource officer program, or safety officer, sometimes it's called that, is another way in which we try and have law enforcement be a protective force in the schools. I'll tell you, one of the things I think that we could do that would help that a lot is to expose what those officers do also, to show people how they do connect with kids. One of the things I've been doing here in LA is a virtual ride along with LAPD. I had never heard of this before yesterday morning. I really hadn't. But people are tuning in on Twitter to the LAPD website to see where I am on the tour yesterday and today. You know, I think we could use social media to show what the school officers in school are doing as well. How are they interacting with kids? I know parents would love to see that. Other kids would love to see it. One of the things I've learned also when on this tour, and I talk to young people in different communities, they talk about the fact that they just want to get to know who officers are. You know, are they even people? You know, it can seem like a different world, and having a way to connect and using social media is really important in that. I think it can be a great tool.
Right, so really creating that mutual trust
Yes.
among the kids and the officers as well.
Yes. Many people that I've talked to have said that the only time they ever met a police officer was in their school. And if they had a positive view of law enforcement, it usually came from there, because they got to know the officer, they were looking out for them, they were keeping people away from school who shouldn't be there. If they had a problem at home, they could go to that officer and talk to that officer. If we could use social media to expand that program and let other kids connect with officers as well, I think that would be a great thing.
Amazing. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
I love her. She's sweet. Do you have any questions for myself?
So, you know, I
So-
do actually. I'm in LA. Obviously, it's a town that spends a lot of time on entertainment and movies. You've had a great career. And in your career, you have not just played, but you've really inhabited some parts of young men, young black men who've had encounters with law enforcement. How has that resonated with you individually? How has it resonated with your work?
I think for me, it very personal.
Yeah.
Being a young black man and being able to, you know, from Newark, New Jersey, you know, from the inner city, and I had a lot of run-ins with, you know, police officers growing up, and like you just said before, it's, you know, if I had more of a positive interactions, you know, with police officers at a younger age, and you know, it became more personal, then I think the outlook on law enforcement might be a little different. So from the characters that I played, seemed to be troubled, you know, and like the case of Oscar Grant, you know, being you know, unfortunately shot down and killed up in Oakland, California. It allows me to kind of go into the communities and really listen to what the people need, you know, what the issues are, and then being able to convey that on screen. It's kind of like hiding the medicine, you know, in the food in a way, you know, through my art. So to be able to express myself through my work and kind of tell a point of view that's able to expand what the narrow, you know, kind of stereotypical point of view is, I think that's something that's definitely helped me a lot along the years.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you actually have taken it further. I mean, you have a very strong social activist presence as well.
Yes.
You know, how has that been influenced by your acting?
I mean, I think it's, you know, like I said, being able to play these characters, you know, like Oscar Grant and, you know, Vince Howard and, you know, Wallace from The Wire and stuff like that, it allows me to really put my ear to the streets and really understand what these communities are going through.
Yes.
And it's definitely affected me, you know, a lot, you know, trying to use this platform as much as I can to speak and positively and productively about trying to find a solution, trying to use social media and technology, because, you know, just, you know, think, you know, without technology, without camera phones, that Oscar Grant incident might have never been captured, you know? And so many things that, you know, sometimes fall through the cracks. Just everything is transparent now.
Yes.
You know, through technology and through social media, everything's right now. You know, like we're live right now.
Yes.
Everybody's seeing exactly what's going on. So I think that's helping keeping everybody honest.
Yes.
So with the development of, you know, apps and, you know, different technology and different, you know, systems being put in place, I think things will be, you know, a lot more honest than they are right now.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I couldn't agree more, and I think that's actually one of the perfect examples of how social media has really advanced this discussion that we're having today on community policing, capturing the events of Fruitvale Station on social media, and of course, as you know, even after that, we've had so many other tragic incidents captured on social media, and we see them. And I know it's difficult, particularly when you're a young person and you're watching someone literally lose their life. That is a very difficult thing to see, and it has led to a difficult conversation about law enforcement, about community members, but I think it's one that is letting us honor those people who lost their lives by making things better. You know, I think that as tragic as it is and as hard as it is to see those events, that's an example of how social media is going to help us move this issue along. Because we're at a point now where, you know, particularly in minority communities, who often, you know, we spend so much time convincing people something happened, you know, convincing people that there's a problem or there's a concern. It's clear now. It's really clear. So now we can address this issue head on. And it's something that I'm working a lot with local law enforcement on, as well as they reach out and respond to these incidents and talk about these concerns and talk about, okay, what could have been done better in this situation? You know, what kind of training do we need to prevent these types of situations from occurring? One of the things I've been focusing on in this tour, you know, one of the pillars of the task force is officer training and education. And when I was in Phoenix the other day, I was able to watch the officers go through de-escalation exercises. You know, very common examples of people that get presented to them who are a danger to themselves or others, and the police have to respond, but trying to recalibrate the force that you need, you know, and doing that in a way that the community can see how that training is going on. So people can actually have faith and trust in the fact that law enforcement, now looking at these incidents, says, you know, we've got to work on making sure that we start with the least amount of force and then work up. And we've got to make sure that people understand how we do things and why we do things. And that's why I think this event is so important. And social media is a driver of all of that.
100%. I mean, it's just the way we get our news. It's the way we get our information nowadays.
It
is
is.
Through social media. Great. That's awesome. I think we're going to switch it over to, you know, the people at home on Facebook. We had some questions come through.
Okay.
And this is from Diego Guerrera, 16 years old. How do you see high school students building positive relationships with police?
Again, such a key issue. I mean, this is the issue, I think, of the day, because the relationship starts when you're young. It's not to say that we don't have people, strong leaders in the community working on this also, but so many kids have said to me that the only positive interaction they had with a cop was in school. Or when I go to talk to young people at town halls like this, that are, you know, more limited, just a room, and I say, what is it you wish law enforcement would do? I will tell you, every city I've gone to, they say, come to the schools and get to know us, or come to our neighborhoods and get to know us as people, as individuals. And so I think that for high school students, look for those programs that connect them with law enforcement. There are a lot of great things out there. I saw a great program in Birmingham where high school students and officers got together and they did these role-playing exercises, you know, basically to show, you know, you have to stand in someone's shoes sometimes. And we often talk about law enforcement as a hard job, but until you've actually stood in those shoes and looked at a group of officers playing the role of teenagers, and you've tried to get them to clear the park at night or tried to get them to follow directions, then people say, okay, now I see how this is. And the officers also switch over, and they see how it feels. You know, they see how their tactics feel and how it resonates within people. Because, you know, we all tend to think, well, you know, I mean well, right? I've got good intentions. I'm not doing anything wrong. People should understand that. And I think that's a common failing of everybody, whether you're in law enforcement or not. But when you stand in somebody else's shoes and you can see that, so I think for high school students, look for those programs. A lot of cities offer summer jobs that will let you work for the city or for the police department and just get to see what they do. It may not be the job that you want to have forever, but it lets you see a really important part of the community. And if your police department doesn't have some kind of youth council or a connection to young people, which I think is really key, ask them to have one. You know, go online and see what their web page is like. Is it open? Is it transparent? Can you go on the web page and see who are the police officers? Where are they from? You know, so you can figure out who they are. If your police department doesn't have that, ask them to have that and tell them, you know, other police departments are doing this. You know, I can go online at LA and I can see who the police officers are.
Got it.
You know, I was in Fayetteville, North Carolina. You can see who they are and where they're from. You can see their backgrounds. So now you know who's in your community, and you see that, you know what, that person's from my community.
Got it.
So if you're a student, there's so much you can do, and reach out for those opportunities, and do all that exploring.
Nice. Okay. That's a great answer. This one's from Amir Grant.
Amir.
12 years old. As LAPD become more innovative with their implementation of community policing, how will other law enforcement agencies across the nation reciprocate that model?
You know, I am here in LA looking at how they use social media and technology. I mentioned the virtual ride-along. What we're going to be doing at the end of my tour, in the first week in August, we're going to be having a community policing week in DC, getting together and talking about all the things that I've seen. We're also issuing a report on the tour and all of the techniques and innovative things that not just law enforcement but community members and young people are doing. So one of the things we're going to be doing is highlighting LA's use of social media and the other cities that I've been to, how they connect with the community also. So we're going to share that information. We're going to disseminate it throughout the law enforcement community. Also, lots of times law enforcement departments come to the Department of Justice and they ask us for assistance, and they'll say, you know what, I'm not sure that my use of force policies are really current. Can you give me some examples? Can you give me some guidance? Because I don't want to end up in a situation like Ferguson or like other cities. You know, I don't really want that on me. And so we will match up police departments with each other. If someone's doing well, and particularly when their community gives them a good rating, we'll connect them with other departments that want to improve also. So we have the report coming out in August. And we also work one-on-one with departments to connect them with other people who've gone through that similar issue, so they can also work on these issues.
Nice. Okay. Sweet. That's all the questions that I had from Facebook. Do you have any closing remarks or anything you want to add?
Well, thank you so much for doing this.
No problem.
Thank you for doing this today, and thank you for working and caring about these issues. Thanks to Yara also for caring about these issues and asking these questions and raising these issues. And most importantly, thanks to everyone who's here today. Thanks to everyone who's online, who sent in questions, who are thinking about these issues, because particularly for young people, you all are the ones who are going to be left with this issue, and you're going to resolve it today. We've got here in the audience, you saw in the audience pan, LA police officers. We also have cadets, young people who sign up to work with LAPD and train with them and learn about what it's like to stay in law enforcement. They may not stay in that as a career, but they get to have that insight into it as well. You can give us your thoughts. You can continue this discussion. You can continue this dialogue. That's the best part about social media, right? It never turns off, right? It's 24/7. Go to DOJ's Facebook page. Give us your thoughts. Give us your ideas. What do you want to see as the changes in policing? What have you found that works in your community? What are the good examples you've seen of policing? What are the problems that you still see out there? We want to know all of that. So as we work on these issues, we can get everyone's input. So I want to thank you again for everything.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks
Awesome.
so much. Thanks.